Salutations, my Fallout lovers. It is Matty here today, and we are going to be talking about Obsidian Entertainment, the creators of Fallout New Vegas, and I'm sure all the Fallout fans are happy to hear their name in the talks once again about them possibly being open to being purchased as a company. So we have a lot of interesting quotes to go through, and the final quote is what we will be focusing on in this interview. There will be a link in the description to that. It is a fantastic interview. There's a lot more information in there, but what I'm going to be focusing on is the future of Obsidian Entertainment and my thoughts on what Fergus Urquhart, the CEO of this company and who also worked on some of the original Fallout games, and what he said. So starting off with the first interesting quote I found, with Fallout New Vegas, sometimes I look back on that and think, should we have pushed for a larger budget? What could we have done to launch it better? Because there are two parts to a launch, the publisher and the developer, and that's our part. So what could we have done? So it's quite interesting that he's actually taking the blame for stuff that could have been wrong with New Vegas. Like, some people complain about the graphics, the lack of world innovation, the bugs as well. And while everyone will obviously blame Bethesda because they only gave him about a year and a half to make the game, obviously some people are going to point the finger at New Vegas, and it's quite interesting that he's taking the blame for that, saying maybe we should have asked for more money. What could he have done better? And it's interesting that he's still thinking about this even to this current day. Another interesting quote that stuck out to me was, we were running into those issues, and that was my day-to-day, a penny here and a penny there. It was hard, and I think that's what's really restricting us from launching out. The difficult thing, and I'm sure you hear this from independent developers all the time, when you get done with the game, not many developers work with the same publisher again, not right away. And I think this is an interesting tie-in to Bethesda, that they might not work with them ever again. And this is true. We have seen this multiple times in the past with independent developers. Now, I know that this is an interesting standpoint to me personally, because when I talked to Lorne Lanning, the creator of the Oddworld series at E3, he said that he's so happy that they're independent because his team has been shafted by so many publishers. And that's kind of what it sounds like with Obsidian as well, that they're almost like a contractor that keeps getting worked over in certain regards and not being able to have that financial security that they deserve. So it's quite interesting to see both perspectives, where some people love it because they don't want to deal with the publishers, and some people kind of want the publishers for that security. Even more about New Vegas, the interviewer says, an example is the bonus for New Vegas. It was widely publicized that you missed that because of the 1% on its Metacritic score. That's not entirely in your control. No, it's not, and that's, yeah. And so to me, that response says, we probably shouldn't have agreed to those terms where we should have just gotten paid a bonus anyway. But regardless, they're kind of slightly taking blame, which I don't think they should be. I think Bethesda should have just paid them anyway, but also it's written in the contract, so there's a lot of legal stuff there. When they're talking about contracts and signing up with publishers to work with their games, that's why he's mentioning all this stuff, and that's why when the interviewer asks afterwards, and presumably no more Metacritic bonuses, to which Fergus says, and no Metacritic related bonuses, absolutely, because I can't control it. It's not in our best interest. So what they're more so focused on is not, oh, Bethesda didn't pay us because we didn't hit the 1%. They're more focused on the fact that this is stuff that's out of their control. They can only control so much as an independent developer because they have to work with these publishers, listen to what they have to say, which he mentions in the article multiple times, that these are things that they can't control. So they want control where they can get it. So things like these, they're not interested in anymore. And one of the main reasons this interview was so interesting and why this video is being created is because of the answer to the following question: were there benefits for the company beyond the commercial in regards to Pillars of Eternity? To which Fergus answers, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I'd like a Lamborghini in every color of the rainbow, of course, but really, we just want to be in a financial situation where we're not worried all the time. Worry is the gun to your head. And that's exactly what he says in this interview, is that if you're an independent developer, you don't want that gun to your head. You don't want to be worrying, how are they going to make the next paycheck out to all their employees? Because Fergus said in this interview specifically that the owners of Obsidian have managed to take pay cuts and just skip out on paychecks in general to pay the workers there. And I think that's absolutely amazing and very gracious of them, but it's also kind of sucky because they deserve money as well. And for those wondering about the status of New Vegas and a potential new Fallout game, I hate to report that nothing has changed. When Fergus says we hired Leonard Boyarsky recently, who's one of the co-creators of Fallout, to which the interviewer naturally asks, can we take that as a hint as to the nature of this new project? And Fergus laughs and says, no, we're not working on a Fallout. And yeah, so nothing's changed there. Not too surprising. I doubt he'd come out and say, hey guys, we're working on a Fallout game, but I'd imagine not, if he's not just downplaying it or teasing it or saying, maybe, you never know, something along those lines. And so the final quote that we're going to be focusing on for the remainder of this video is when the interviewer asks, so what do you want from the next 13 years? Do you still want to be independent? independent, to which Furious answers, I am fine being independent in 13 years. I would be okay if we got purchased, but I would be fine independent. Ultimately, we need to be good at what we do. It goes back to what we were saying about things that are beyond our control. Well, there are things that are in our control, so let's not screw those things up. So what he's saying is that we're okay being independent, but if we got purchased, that's fine. And that's where this video is going to go into focusing on. Who would we like to have purchase Obsidian? I think the answer is obvious for most of us: Bethesda, for two core reasons. Number one, if you hate the games that they make, whether it's a Fallout or an Elder Scrolls, whatever, but you have to admit that they publish some fantastic games. Doom, The Evil Within, Wolfenstein, and so on. They make so many great games from Bethesda's publishing arms that I think adding Obsidian Entertainment to that would be fantastic, because what's great about Bethesda's publishing is they know that the product will sell itself if the game is good. So they don't force these games out. They just say, here's money, here's time, enjoy, go make your game. Number two is the obvious one that I could see if Bethesda were to purchase Obsidian Entertainment, that they'd hand off the Fallout series to them maybe for another game and allow them to use the creation engine, or maybe an upgraded version of that, or maybe if Bethesda Game Studios makes a new engine, perhaps using that. Or in this article, Fergus actually mentions how they would like to have their own engine, maybe giving them time to create their own engine and making something new in the Fallout universe. That would also be awesome. But even if it's not Fallout, that's okay. I think Obsidian deserves that type of financial security. They make damn good games and damn big games for a independent studio. They are so good at what they do, and they really deserve that type of security. But I just wanted to talk about this today because I think this is an interesting opportunity. I'm very curious if anyone's actually going to scoop them up, because this is actually making headlines, and I wonder if anyone's going to catch wind of this and go, maybe we should pick them up, because they're fantastic developers. They've proven themselves time and time again. So if I'm a publisher, I see that Obsidian Entertainment is open to being purchased, I'd love to step in there and be like, hey, you guys make great games, and as a publisher, you'll make us a lot of money, so how about you step into our team? And since Bethesda and Obsidian have worked together in the past, I'm sure they can settle their differences if there are any, because I don't think this article really showed that there were. I think it would be fantastic if they work together. I'd love to hear your suggestions though. Another idea I had was possibly, and I know this sounds awful, but EA, only because Obsidian made Knights of the Old Republic 2, and I want them to work on another Star Wars game, and I'm gonna be selfish and say that, but I know EA really isn't the best publisher out there, but still, that's the only other idea that really came to mind where I thought that'd be a good fit. There's obviously tons of other different fits out there of generous companies who could publish games for Obsidian, but still, these are just two that came to mind real quickly. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below on this interesting topic. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. The links are, as always, in the description down below. Check out SugarBomb.com, the place by Bethesda fans for Bethesda fans. Other than that, stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.